Hurlings through, he might go for it, still going, trying to barge his way through, goes to the shot, what a goal!
Arriving Rian O'Neill from an almost impossible angle, and that's the rousing score now we're looking for.
Connor Turbin kicks this one in, that's absolutely superb.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We are welcome to our preview show and we're looking ahead on another big weekend of championship action. I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Beattie and we're going to look ahead at round 3 of the senior championship and the intermediate championship as well. Mark, great to have you on senior and intermediate championship. At the minute, they're very exciting. You couldn't really, with any confidence, predict a winner in either championship.
No, at the start of the year, we were all predicting one or two. This is a 2-horse race. Now it's became 10, 12-horse race. Everybody in the senior, everybody thinks of a chance of winning it, and it's absolutely fantastic. And the matches that I've seen so far have been top drawer. When you've seen the Tina G game with crossing the clans, it was you were hoping that Armagh, after winning the All Ireland, you were going to get a real good spectacle, and you're a wee bit worried as well, thinking, God, is this going to be a real dire match? But it turned out to be a fantastic game, and all over Ireland, people have been watching that, saying Armagh club football is at a really high standard. I thought it was brilliant, and then at the weekend, the game with an all load of really good, tight games, and yeah, it's fantastic up to date. It's been a great championship.
And we're looking ahead to the last rounds. I suppose this is the crunch time, Mark. There's knockout games basically this weekend. While we haven't reached the knockout stages, there's teams that are vying for top spot and hoping to get into the playoffs. There's teams that have already exited the championship, and we'll talk about that when we come to the certain groups. But it's all very exciting already, and we're not even at the knockout stage.
Yeah, and sometimes people complain about the groups and it should be straight knockout and all the rest, and everyone has an argument for and against it. But the more and more last year, this year, the more and more it's happening, I'm all for it, and it's great. And as you say, we're going into this weekend. Nearly every group, there's big games coming up because teams want to get in the top spot, or they're looking now because of certain teams that are going to maybe end up in second spot. Other teams are, in previous years, people wouldn't have maybe even cared if they were in third as long as they were qualifying. Now teams are trying to push just to get the second. So they're not going to maybe potentially hit the likes of Cross Midland or maybe even Clonard and teams like that who could end up being second place.
Yeah, it's just as exciting as I suppose you would want it to be at this time of the year. But we'll start with the senior championship, Mark, and as usual, we'll start with Group A. So here we have Silverbridge taking on Clevie on Monday, and Cullaville taking on Cullyhanna. That's Silverbridge, and Clevie is going to be live on Armagh TV because it's one in this group. I suppose Cullyhanna and Cullaville are out of the championship. They can only match Clevie in the league table, and Clevie obviously have the head-to-head. So Cullyhanna, they're going into that game. They need to win to top the group. Silverbridge and Clevie, this is do or die, Mark, because they can both top the group, and basically whoever wins is guaranteed at least second place. So both teams are really going to go for this.
Yeah, well, Clevie, the way they started, they've been really disappointed with the first game, and a change of management after the first game. Stevie McDonald coming in, I'm sure it's given them a massive bounce. They're going in after beating Cullaville, the confidence is up. Going to training and stuff like that. I'm sure it's just been a big lift for all the players, and whatever went on or whatever didn't happen, they're in a position now. As you said, if they beat Silverbridge, they'll definitely come second in the group, if not top it. So that's massive, though. And I've seen Clevie a couple of times this year. Was disappointed with them. Didn't see them moving into the championship, especially the last game or so of the league. I've seen them and wasn't expecting anything big from them in the championship. I wasn't surprised by the result against Cullyhanna. But as I say, with that change of management and Stevie coming in, it's going to give them a big lift. And with it being another derby game in this group, you'd imagine that Clevie will believe now. They'll start to get a bit of belief behind them. And as I say, a derby game's also going to get them up for it. And they'll have every opportunity of beating Silverbridge. And saying that, Silverbridge, they had a good win against Cullaville. I know it was a tight sort of game and they struggled for a long part of it. But at the end, they got over the line and got their 2 points. And then the big game for Silverbridge, because I've been speaking to a few of them, was Cullyhanna. I probably didn't understand how big a rivalry that Silverbridge and Cullyhanna is. But I was certainly, after talking to a few people, I realised just how much these two teams don't like each other. So it proved to be, still they came away with a draw. I know Cullyhanna were down a couple of players, Pierce Casey, who would be a massive loss to them. So, that was still, in saying that there, a draw would have been a fair enough result for both teams. And, I would still expect, Killeigh or Silverbridge to have too much for Killeigh just based on the recent performances and how they went through the league. And I know, as I say, Stevie's given them a big lift, but there's still a lot of work for Stevie to be doing to get them over a line and for against Silverbridge, who would be another team now starting to believe, as this whole championship's opening up, they'll start to really believe that they could go somewhere in this year, and this will be a massive test for them as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Silverbridge to win that one as well, Mark. Cullaville and Cullyhanna, I suppose, as I mentioned, Cullaville are out, so this game doesn't really matter for them, but it certainly matters for Cullyhanna because they'll obviously top the group if they win. But I suppose just speak about Aidan Nugent, because I know he was in good form the first day out against Cleavey. He scored 1-6, but against Silverbridge he probably wasn't really in the game. He couldn't really get his influence properly, but I suppose when he was needed, he was called upon at the end. He kicked the last 2 points and the last one from over by the sideline. So I suppose Aidan Nugent, he's kicked I think that's 1-9 in the championship so far. And he's going to be somebody that, later on in the championship, he can carry a real threat for Cullyhanna.
Yeah, well, again, Aidan's one of these players, it mightn't have happened for him at the weekend, but Silverbridge would have had him earmarked and they would have had players on him and they knew what he can do. But when the game got tight and Silverbridge were ahead, who was the man that Cullyhanna looked to, and who was the man that stood up to get them the scores, even no matter how poorly or maybe wasn't in the game as much as he wanted to be? It was Aidan Nugent. And players like that there, you can keep quiet for 40-50 minutes, but you just can't keep them quiet for the full 60. And when you see a wonder score like he did here in the last basic kick of the ball, it was unbelievable. So it was. So yeah, and as the championship goes on, him, McQuillan, Duffy, Casey, these players are the players that Cullyhanna will be looking at, and there's no question that they'll stand up to the mark.
Yeah, it's a probably a big game for Cullyhanna because there's a good rivalry with Cullaville as well. So while Cullaville's out, they're still going to field, they're still going to play the game, but maybe their last action of 2024 could be sending Cullyhanna into the playoffs and ending their unbeaten run in the championship.
Yeah, well, it's South Armagh Derby. No matter what it is, you have to have pride. There has to be a bit of pride there and after a bad defeat by Cleavey, they'll want to go out and show something towards the end of the season, and and no better way to go against Cullyhanna and cause a real upset. I don't see it happening, but you would like to think, playing against Cullaville over the years, you always knew you were in for a real tussle and a real battle. And I don't expect anything, especially after the result I had last weekend, expect them to come out fighting against Cullyhanna, with Cullyhanna towards the end, honestly, pulling away from them and should have a comfortable enough victory. But you would like to see a bit more fight and desire from Cullaville, and who knows what it might bring them.
Yeah, it's going to be a game anyway. It's not going to be a walkover for Cullyhanna. But on to Group B then, Mark, and there's obviously only one game in Group B this week. It's Sarsfields against Crossmaglen. This is on Sunday in Sarsfields, and I suppose on this game, Mark, it's hard to talk about football. I'm sure in Crossmaglen, football's on the last thing on their minds after the couple of days and the week they've had. Obviously losing Keown Finnegan losing his battle with illness last week, and this is a hard game to preview, and I'm sure it's hard for Cross, whether they've even been back training or not, or maybe they'll meet on Friday night before the game or whatever. But this is for Sarsfields too. It's probably a strange one. So in terms of actually previewing the game, it's probably impossible, and in terms of playing the game, it's probably the last thing on Crossmaglen's minds.
Yeah, it's I my heart's, just all goes out for Cross Midland and the whole community and the family and everything, and for he was what a player, he was going to be, and everyone talks so highly of him and such a great fella and all, and it's just devastating for such a young age for this to be happening, and to be honest, I can sort of. We in our own club in Clonerne, we did have a couple of tragedies over a couple of years, and it's so hard to think about football at this time after it. But once it the one thing that you have is your club, and that this will be a real strong time for Cross Midland, for the players, and that's the one place that they'll all go to. It's the one place that they'll nearly want to get to. I know it'll be hard to go to training. It'll be hard to think about, going to win championships, win matches. They're the last things in your mind. But still, just to get out onto that training field with all your friends and Keelan's friends and all, that'll help. That'll help it all. It'll help in some way. And I know at this moment in time, a lot of people, don't think, nothing's going to help and all, but as the weeks go on, that is the one place that they'll find a wee bit of something there that'll get them back on their feet again, and there's a lot of good people in around Cross Midland to support all them young people, and that's all we can wish for and hope that they'll all get back at it. And but as you say, it's a very hard time, and I can just feel for them.
Yeah, no, same here. It's been an incredibly tough time, and hopefully everybody can get out, and they've shown their support incredibly well for the Finnegan family and the Cross Midland community for over the last year really, but particularly this time that they really need it. I suppose on to Group C then, Mark, and we have two games here. This is probably arguably the most exciting group maybe. We have Clonerne taking on Madden in Clonerne on Friday night, and that game's going to be live on Armagh TV. And we have St Peter's against Mahary also on Friday night, 6:45. I think that game's also going to be live on Armagh TV. They're going to show the two games live. The reason this game is so exciting, Mark, is because everybody can beat everybody more or less. St Peter's have lost their two games, but Madden have beat Mahary. Mahary have beat Clonerne. Can Clonerne now go on and beat Madden to top the group? It's been an exciting couple of weeks in this group.
It has indeed, and the Madden Mockery game, great game, right to the wire, and Madden getting over the line at the end. It was a real kick in the teeth for Mockery, but let me tell you, they came back last weekend and gave what a performance they gave against Clonerne right from the get-go. They were on it, and the intensity, the drive, the physicality that they showed against Clonerne was top notch. And I was not surprised, but I didn't expect them to bring just as much as what they brought. And Mockery is a very tough place to go to, but the difference from last year watching them over there was, yes, they'll bring all that desire and that physicality that they can bring and that tight pitch, and they know it inside out, but it was their speed of their transition. It was if you were a neutral, it would have been great to watch. As a Mockery supporter, it would have been great to watch. For me personally, it wasn't great to watch, but you have to give them real credit, because I was very, very impressed by them. And their county players, Ben Creeley and Aidan Falker, really, really stood up. Also, Ronan Lappin had a fantastic game at full forward. We just couldn't do anything with him, no matter what happened. We had different players in there, people sweeping in front of him, and he just won every ball. And then Creeley slips in there as well in the full forward and makes life real difficult. So for Mockery, I think that they should be going ahead and winning this weekend. On the other game, that is going to be one hell of a match. Madden's going to get a lift naturally from where they're sitting at the moment. They have 2 good wins. Expected probably to beat St Peter's, and they knew they were going to be in a fight against Mockery, but they came out the right side of it. So they're going in here full of confidence. Clonerne, on the other hand, wasn't expected, to lose that game last week. I know we were still missing. Barry only came on, and TK never played. Shea Heffern didn't play either. So there was still 3 or 4 players. Ryan Owens hopefully will be returning soon as well. So you have 3 or 4 players still to come back into the team. But still at that, we probably would have thought we were strong enough to win the game. Clonard didn't play badly. They still played reasonably well. But I just think to get to the pace of what Mockery got took them a bit longer. And then obviously losing Turbo didn't help either. So going into this weekend, Clonard's just going to need to lift themselves. They know they're going to have a massive game on their hands. And it's one I'm looking forward to, because it'll really see where Clonard's at, because that was a result, as I said, I didn't expect against Mockery. They knew they were going to get a tough game, but they were expected to come away with 2 points. Now they're in a position that if they don't get a result at the weekend, they could be going into the playoffs in third place, which nobody would have expected at the start of the year. But this is the scenario they found themselves. And, there's a lot of people around the county wouldn't be surprised if Madden come and get a win. But at the same time, you would expect Clonard to come back strong and, and really respond from that defeat last weekend. And I would expect them definitely to come away with a win here. But it's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, I think that's arguably the game of the weekend. I would think is Clonard and Madden. And obviously the winner is so important that, to top that group and could get to the case. I think Madden are on 4 points. If Clonard win, they'll be on 4 points. If Mockery win, they'll be on 4 points. So get your calculators at the ready in Clonard. And just before we move on, Mark, just on Mockery, obviously I think everybody felt that, Clonard going to Mockery was going to be such a big test. The fact that, it's a notoriously tough place to go, but you expected Clonard to come good in the end. The fact Mockery have won that now, is there going to be more upsets in this championship for Mockery, do you think? Did you see enough last night to suggest that, they could have a run here? Because I know I had Barry O'Hagan on the preview show last week, and he threw Mockery into that mix of, 7 or 8 teams that could go all the way.
What I seen of them on Saturday night, as I said, you always expect to have a battle against Mockery, no matter what that's just in them, and there's always footballers there. But outside of the sort of Ben Creeley, Stephen Falkers, Aidan Falkers, Ronan Lappin, you had Robson, who in full forward was absolutely brilliant the other night, and just Stephen Fox still in around the middle of the field as well, battling away there. Just a lot of strength. And I spoke earlier about the transition, the speed of how they move the ball. Now, moving on to maybe bigger, wider fields, will they be able to get that ball as quickly to the middle and then banged in the Lappin or Creeley or whoever's in there? But to me, I was really impressed by him. I'm surprised, to be honest, because I would have been one of the people starting to write Mockery off regarding being one of the top teams. But after Saturday night, they're right up there for me. Like they're right up there, and just as I say about the pace that they played with, how quickly they got to move the ball, and once it was there to drive it in the scoring zone, they didn't think about it. It was just put in there and couldn't handle. We literally couldn't handle especially Creeley and Micheál O'Shea. Micheál O'Shea struggled, because on Lappin and stuff. But when Creeley went in there as well, it's a very hard ask, to be breaking ball or whatever against them two guys. So very impressed by Mockery the other night, and I do say that they'll have a massive say in this championship.
Yeah, I think as we said, they're probably in that group of 6 or 7 teams that are now eyeing up a long run in the championship and maybe going all the way. But moving on to Group D then, Mark, and pretty much there's only one game that counts here. It's Mullaballen against Ballymacnabb on Saturday, because the Harps have already topped the group and they can't be caught, while Drummond they can't finish third, so they're crashing out of the championship. So we'll not spend any time on that game. It's pretty much as dead a rubber as you could get. Mullaballen and Ballymacnabb, though, that's going to be where all the attention is on Saturday night, because the two teams need to win to come second. And as we were speaking there, coming second is probably never been more important, because if you're coming second, you're playing third in a different group. You're avoiding possibly Crossmaglen and Clonard, who, if they come second in their groups. So Mullaballen and Ballymacnabb here, all eyes are on that second spot. Like, it's hugely important.
Yeah, but the way the surprises are going, maybe third place might end up being the best place to be. But no, yeah, it's a massive game for both teams. Mullabon, the performances to date, they got promoted out of 1B, so you would have expected them to really drive on the championship. They haven't just yet caught fire, maybe how their league performances were going, but they're still, and Drummond T has sort of been the team that most teams, they were expecting to beat. After being relegated, they seem to be struggling. So these two teams now, their championship is really starting here. It's how they can get through this weekend's game. Because Ballymacnab, as you know, are there down a few players as well, have been down a few players. Don't know what way that's going for this weekend. You're keeping your cards very close to your chest.
So. I think everybody knows it's not good. It's going to be the same the whole championship.
So that's going to lead into Mullabon having the belief here that they're going to come away with a win here, and then they'll come in as the second place team, which as we said earlier, could be proved to be massive going forward in the championship. But this will be a tight game. I just imagine it to be a very tight game. Ballymacnab, they have home advantage as well. So
it's in Mullabon.
It's in Mullabon. So yeah, listen, with the players that Ballymacnab have missing and in Mullabon, I would be going with a Mullabon victory here.
And I suppose, Mark, we talked about offer. We're talking about Mullabon beating Drummond T on Monday night, and I was telling you about Fergal O'Brien's performance. Kieran Lynch was working for Armagh TV at this, and he said Fergal O'Brien was clear man of the match. He kept 4 points from centre half back, and he set up the goal as well that Mullabon scored. But I suppose his runs are coming his own defence, Mark, as we can see on the highlights here. He's coming forward. He's turning the ball over at one end, and he's racing up the field to kick the ball over the bar at the other end.
Yeah, and that's what Mullabon need. They need that leadership. They need someone who's prepared, to take the game by a scruff of the neck. And Fergal O'Brien's certainly doing that in the first 2 matches to date. And when he's getting up the field, he's not just handing the ball off to somebody else. He's taking the ownership to going up the field, getting himself in the position and driving balls over the bar. And Drummond had no answer to him. But listen, when you're driving runs like that, there's not too many teams going to have an answer for him. And I'm sure Ballymacnab will have their eyes on somebody to stop them runs coming through the middle at the weekend, because if they don't, he's going to do serious damage, and there'll only be one outcome then. That Mullabon will clearly win the game, because that needs stopped. But it's easier said than done with a player of that quality.
So we'll move on to the intermediate championship then, Mark, and it's just as exciting as the senior has been. And in Group A, St Paul's take on Shane O'Neill's on Friday night, while White Cross take on Tiernanog on the same night at 7:15. So this one, I suppose St Paul's and Shane O'Neill's is the big game. It's a repeat of the 2022 intermediate final. And St Paul's, obviously they're top of the group. They've won their 2 games. Shane's won the first day out against Tiernanog, but lost then last week against White Cross. They've got a couple of men put off and going to have suspensions on that. So I suppose it's maybe difficult to see where Shane's are at heading into this game.
I was massive surprised when I seen that result. I didn't know too much about it, but it was a massive after seeing the result they put up against Tiernanog. You were thinking Shane O'Neill's with the county men back. There's a massive bounce for them, and they were going to be hard to handle in the intermediate championship. But then I seen the result against White Cross, and I couldn't believe it, because St Paul's had beat them fairly convincingly the week before. So you were expecting Shane O'Neill's and for this game to be who was going to top the table. But now it's left in a position now where White Cross will believe that they get the win against Portadown, that and St Paul's beat Shane O'Neill's, that they'll leave Shane O'Neill's in 3rd place. So very surprised by that result. But in saying that, Shane O'Neill's, you'd imagine, will bounce back, and with a full strength team, they'll have every confidence that they can go and beat St Paul's. But St Paul's have put up a couple of convincing victories so far, and they'll definitely be in this championship. Like they'll be in a good enough place that 2 victories, confidence will be high, and they'll be seeing this as another chance of a win to top the group and drive into the quarterfinals.
And I'd mentioned, Mark, that obviously played in the 2022 final. Kieran Mackin went back that day into fullback to mark Andrew Mernon, and Shane's won the game by a point, so it worked obviously. But Andrew has kicked 1-4 last week. He's obviously coming off the back of winning the Ireland with Armagh, while Kieran, he's done his ACL, he won't be there. We'll possibly see Conor Mackin maybe going back in to mark Andrew Murnan here, and that's going to be a key matchup that could ultimately decide the game.
Yeah, well, just going back to that intermediate final a couple of years ago, that was a game St. Paul's, talking to St. Paul's people, they just can't believe how they lost that match. This is a chance for Shane O'Neill's to prove that, there is a reason why they lost it, and, to go out and beat them, maybe try and beat them and be it more convincing, because on that day, was that the game, I couldn't believe how St. Paul's lost that match, but they did, and they'll want to sort of get one back for that there. On Mackin and taking Murnan, and I've said this before a lot of times, when Andy Muirn's on his game at club level and the right ball's going in them, he is just too hard to handle. I don't know of anyone that can get the better of him, especially at club level, because he really, when he's on his day, especially at intermediate level, he can near carry some balls the whole way over the line and win games on his own. He's that influential for them. But Mackin, knowing him, he will have himself. He will love that battle. He will love the battle of marking Andy Murnan and seeing, is he up for the task of sorting them out? But it's a massive task when he's on his game, because he's just so good.
Yeah, he's unstoppable when he's in that sort of form. But we'll move on. Group B then, Mark, and this is going to be Wolf Tones against, that should be Crossmaglen Seconds on Sunday, and Katie, they take on Grange. But this group's probably difficult to preview as well, because Cross and Katie play on Wednesday night, which is after we're doing our preview show here. So I suppose the only talking point in this group, without knowing that result, is probably the Tones are currently leading the way in that group. They've won their 2 games. They've beat Katie, they've beat the Grange, and another win here, and they'll march through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I seen both Tones against Katie in the first game. I'd seen them also in the league twice this year. Wasn't overly impressed in the league performances, and was coming out expecting Katie to come away with a victory in the first game of the championship. And very surprised at the Wolf Tones, how they've turned it around, the intensity that they played with. Again, transition, moving the ball very quickly into the forward line. And on that night, they were just forced. They actually should have won the game by more. They let Katie into the game, which I'm sure they wouldn't have been happy about. But I was impressed by Wolf Tones that night, and wouldn't have been going into the intermediate championship thinking that they could have done much damage in it. But after that night, and then after getting another win against the Grange, which was a bit of a, they sort of kicked on from beating Katie, but still it would have been a surprise to a lot of people that they even beat the Grange as well. So they're in a good place. They're in a good place, and they've got themselves primed for the championship, and they could cause a few surprises in the intermediate championship. I think if they perform the way they did over them last 2 matches, they'll be hard to handle. But this will be another big game for them, and they win at the weekend, top the group. I think they'll be sitting in a good place going into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and it's all in their own hands. I suppose that's all you can ask going into a last round game. Group C then, we have Oaks take on Annachmore and Derrynoosh take on Clonmore. These are both on Saturday evening at 3:30. So I suppose this group, Mark, with Derrynoosh having beat Annachmore last week, it looks like the Oaks are going to top it. Derrynoosh second, Annachmore third, possibly, with Clonmore crashed out, having lost their 2 games. And I suppose the Oaks, they're a lot of people's favourites, having won the league and have that wee bit of experience with the likes of the Duffys there. They have a good few underage players coming through too that are great footballers. So again, like Wolf Tones, it's all in the Oaks' own hands here.
It's all in their hands, and Annachmore, to be fair, have been disappointed in the championship. They would have been expecting a wee bit more from themselves. And after getting relegated in the league as well, so they're on a bit of a downer. But this is a game they're going to qualify, but it's the game to sort of judge themselves, to try and get themselves back up on the road. And if they can put a performance up against Pearse Oaks, it'll be a massive help for them going forward. But you can't see anything else, only a Pearse Oaks victory. Speaking to different Pearse Oaks guys so far, and maybe this is a good thing, they've won their 2 games, but it hasn't been convincing. You know, they haven't been on top of their game. Even against Dariouse, I think they struggled for long parts of that game as well. So yeah, but that's whenever you win your couple of games and you're sitting top of the group and you're winning the last game, not having played well, you know, that in one way the manager will be telling the players he's not happy and stuff like that. But in the back of his mind, he'll be thinking, well, once we do pick here, you know, we're primed and ready, and there's no better time as you move into sort of quarterfinals, semi-finals. So for Pearse Oaks, another win at the weekend you would expect, and they'll be starting to seriously think about winning this intermediate championship.
Yeah, I think that's their eyes are locked on trying to win this because they're already up into senior, so having won the league, so it's all about winning the championship now for them. Group D then, our final round of fixtures, we have Carrickcruppen taking on Tullysarn. That's on Sunday at 2:15, and then at the same time, Bilek are taking on Clonard in seconds. And all to play for in these two games, Mark. I suppose Bilek and Clonard, they're fighting to remain in the championship. Whoever wins that pretty much stays in the championship, will reach the playoffs, while Tullysarn and Carrickcruppen, whoever wins it, tops the group. So all to play for here in this group.
Yeah, I've seen both Tullysarn and Carrickcruppen. Obviously, they played Clonard seconds in the last two matches. Really impressed by Tullysarn. Really impressed by Tullysarn all over the field. Great movement, great speed, and real desire to win. Clonard, the day they played, were down a few players, and they took full advantage of that. And again at the weekend against Blake, they had another good victory. So Tullysarn could be a dark horse in the intermediate championship, what I have seen of them so far. Cruppen at the weekend, they played under not the best conditions in Clonard. Found it very tough getting over the line against Clonard. So that'll be a real tasty game. Cruppen's at home, so both teams, as you said, fighting for that top spot. You know, you'd expect they'll have a few minors back who hadn't played because they're in the championship final last night. So that might sort of help Cruppen, because I think they'll need a wee bit extra than what they had on Sunday to try and get over Tullysarn, because I've been very impressed by them. On the other hand, Bilek and Clonard, on the opposite of maybe Carrickcruppen, we should get a bounce from the minor win last night. Clonard winning the minor championship, so you'll have 3, 4, maybe 5 of them players coming into the squad for the seconds game. So that'll give us a massive lift going into that last match. And Clonard did beat Bilek in the last game, you know, so of our second last game of the league. So there'll be confidence there that they'll believe that they can go and win the match. But at the same time, Bilek, you know, after getting promoted, will want to stay in the championship and put up a real show and at least try and go a wee bit further and, you know, prove to themselves that when they're going into 2A next year, that they have the character and the talent and the ability to stay in it. Because 3 defeats in the championship wouldn't be good. So there'll be two tough games here, and I think they're going to be 2 very close games. But hopefully, Clonard will come out on the right side of their game, and I would be sort of siding towards Tullysarn coming out against Carrickcruppen just on their performances to date.
Yeah, I seen Tullysarn was doing it for Armagh TV last week, and I know talking to you off air just a bit about Mark McKeever, because he scored 8 points that first day against Clonard in seconds. He scored 1-9 against Bilek last week, and as I was saying to you, it was 1-5 from play. It wasn't a penalty, and 9 frees he scored. He was electric, whether he was in full forward, centre half forward, midfield. His point at the start of the second half, he jumped up, caught the throw in, and raced up the field and scored a point. So he's playing unbelievable stuff, Mark, and Carrickcruppen, they know all about him probably at this stage anyway, but they're going to really need to tie down his influence if they're going to win that game.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic that day against Clonard. Like, there was just no stopping him, no matter who Clonard put on him, whatever they tried to do. And it wasn't just him as an individual, what he was doing, driving through, getting his own scores. Whenever the right pass was on, he was giving that as well, and then coming and getting the next ball, showing unbelievable fitness levels, unbelievable strength, and as you say, accuracy. With kicking point scoring, it was you know, unfortunately for Clonard perspective, it wasn't great to watch. But as a neutral or as a Tullysarn man, you would have really enjoyed watching McKeever's performance, because he was fantastic, and he carried that into the next game as well and produced another fantastic performance. So he's one to watch. and Carrick Cup, I'm sure, will have someone targeted to take him on at the weekend. But and not again, a bit like O'Brien from Mullabone, when you're in that form, it's very hard. It's very hard to stop. And he's another player in this championship that if he continues like that, Tully Sarn's going to have a lot to say in this championship. You know, and what I've seen of them, and what I've seen of him, I think they could be a real dark horse in this intermediate championship.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on board with that, Mark. I think they could definitely have a big say in finishing out this championship, and I think they'll win on at the weekend and top the group. And I don't think too many will be looking to play them in the quarterfinal. But Mark, great to hear from you. That's all we have for our preview show this week. We'll be back on Sunday evening. We'll have our roundup, of course, from the games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The draws for the playoffs for the intermediate and junior are both taking place on Sunday after the the Silver Bridge and Clevie game. They'll be live on Armagh TV, so everybody make sure to tune in to see who gets who in the playoffs. And we'll be obviously covering everything across the board with match reports, previews, podcasts, interviews, top scores, team of the week, and everything else that we provide over the club championship. So, Mark, great to hear from you. Thanks for coming on, and I'll speak to you again later on the championship.
Thank you.
Harlan's through, he may go for it, still going, trying to barge his way through, goes to the flat, what a goal! Arriving Rian O'Neill from an almost impossible angle, and that's the rousing score now we're looking for.
Connor Turbin kicks this one in. Oh, that's absolutely superb.